To the Midday News on 3FM and 92.7. My name is Beatrice. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Electricity Company of Ghana ECG workers hoist red flags nationwide in protest over proposed privatization of the power distributor. Also coming up, a latest national tracking poll by Global Info Analytics shows 66% of voters believe Ghana is moving in the right direction, signaling growing optimism among the country's future. And much later on the program, in the light of recent fire outbreaks, personnel of Ghana National Fire Service embark on a route march across major market centers in Accra. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Now, the IMF staff report on Ghana last week stated that by the end of 2025, a transaction advisor is expected to be hired to oversee the selection process for private sector concessionaires for the Electricity Company of Ghana. That's for electricity distribution. Already we know that workers are agitating. Well, it also added that the energy sector is stabilizing, highlighting that the Electricity Company of Ghana payments to independent power producers through the cash waterfall mechanism have increased significantly, reaching some 308 million Ghana cedis in the first half of 2025, as compared with 325 million for same in 2024. In total. Daniel Opoko is our Labour Affairs correspondent. He joins us live on the line. Daniel, we know that already pool members are agitating. Just tell us more and then where we are currently.
So good afternoon to you, Beatrice. So basically, the workers are not happy with the decision by government to appoint a transaction advisor. So currently they have decided to hoist red flags across the various districts and regions across the country just to register their displeasure that government should not appoint a transaction advisor. However, when I spoke with the General Secretary of POO, he was telling me this morning that the workers are really upset by any decision by government to do the appointment, and they're also monitoring the situation. In case government should proceed, we are likely to see a lot of agitation on the labor front, especially within the energy sector, and that will not do or that will not augur well for power distribution, also consumers across the country. So that's where we are now, and basically asking government to stop the process. I do recall that they have presented an official letter to the Ministry of Energy, awaiting a meeting to be convened for discussions to open. Well, unfortunately, the sector minister is yet to respond, basically because we are on a Christmas break. So they are hoping that hopefully from next week there should be a meeting to get the issues resolved. Or else we are going to have some instability on the labor front within the energy space.
If you can tell us or remind us again, really, of the concerns of these workers, the specific concerns with the privatization.
Right. So if you could recall, I think a month or two ago, there was a meeting between the leadership of POO and government, and i.e. the IPPs and also the Ministry of Energy, where they roll out, they do a roadmap trying to help improve the revenue collection of the ECG. As you see currently, according to the leadership of PRO, government has taken its hands off ECG, so there's no political interference in the management of ECG. It's part of the agreement that they had. And now the collection point, i.e. the retail centers where the various ECG staff go to do the collection at the various homes, that's what ECG workers are managing now. That's what they have been able to do. And when we listen to what the finance minister said, that they have been able to raise in excess of 500 million Ghana cedis every month. Based on that, they believe that the workers of ECG would be able to do the collection process. But what they are learning, what they are currently being told, is that the collection transaction advisor is being appointed. That is their disagreement. They believe that they can manage the affairs of the ECG. The ECG should be allowed to be run by Ghanaians, not to be allowed to be run by foreign companies who have their own interest in trying to maximize profits. So that's the position of who asking the government to stop the transaction advisor. But unfortunately, they have not been able to determine where the transaction advisor is coming from. But they are able to glean that possibly it's one of the major IMF-driven agenda that government is pushing through. So they are still monitoring the situation, but there is a hope that government will not do the appointment.
Indeed, and they are protesting. Do you know whether there's been any immediate steps from the government to try and meet them? So there's a JoJo kind of.
Right, so there hasn't been any meeting as I speak to it currently. The last letter they issued to the Ministry of Energy, the sector minister is here to respond to the letter. In other words, he's here to convene a meeting for them to discuss the matter. So the various workers have decided to brandish these red flags for them to register their displeasure until a fruitful meeting is organized for them to be able to resolve the problem. As I speak to you currently, the ministry is yet to convene a meeting. There hasn't been any meeting done yet.
Thank you so much, Daniel Opoku. He's our Labour Affairs correspondent. Like I did tell you, the workers of ECG have begun a nationwide protest by hoisting red flags against the government's decision to appoint a transaction advisor for the power distributor. The workers under the Public Utilities Workers Union pool say the move could threaten the future of ECG and warn of further industrial action if the government fails to suspend the appointment of the transaction advisor, and we'll bring you some more as and when we have the latest on this. Now, a clear majority of Ghanaians say that the country is moving in the right direction under President John Mahama. That's according to the latest national tracking poll by Global Info Analytics, with 66% of voters expressing optimism about the nation's trajectory and 67% approving of the president's job performance. The poll further reveals that 66% of respondents are satisfied with the 2026 budget, while 56% say their standard of living has improved over the past year. On governance, 56% of voters believe corruption has improved, and 60% say the government is doing enough to fight corruption, while a majority also reject claims that illegal small-scale mining has worsened, with 46% saying that galamsey has not deteriorated under the current administration, and 56% saying or expressing satisfaction with government efforts to address the problem. Now, the proposal by the Constitution Review Committee to extend the retirement age of lecturers has been met with mixed reactions among education stakeholders. The committee is proposing changes to university lecturers' retirement age, questioning why experienced academics retire at 60 years. Chairman of the committee, Professor H. Kwasi Prempeh, argues that many lecturers remain mentally strong at 70 or 80, making compulsory retirement unjustified nationwide. He spoke on a hot issues with Kemeni Amano.
In the world, academics retire very late. Already at 60, but for public service generally, our judges are retiring at 65 and 70. So it's there. So why must university lecturers, some of them still very mentally sharp, at 60, some of them are actually not even hit their prime yet.
Will that then make it a parliamentary decision to be made through laws or in conjunction with the executive?
Yes, because then you technically pass the law, yes, the president has to sign. So whenever you pass the law, it includes the executive. So this is what we are proposing, that don't keep 60 years in the Constitution, take it out. And then as and when you need to, play with it, It's easier to do in Parliament. We can have a much bigger deliberation around it. Everybody is talking. And then allow some institutions like universities a bit of a range so they can go up. But there are universities, faculty retiring at 60, then they re-engage them on contract. It's like, so everybody knows that the age is not working. Let them work to 70. Let them work. I mean, one of our members, he had his 80th birthday while we were doing the work. I had no clue that he was 80. No idea at all. And he's surprised that he's
why he didn't look it.
Not at all. I mean, because of also the energy he brings to the work.
Well, speaking to 3FM, President of UTAG KNUST, Professor Kwabena Bavari, said while health issues may not guarantee this retirement age, teachers should rather be made to retire on their salaries like other agencies.
I really wish to know the scientific basis for that proposal. The 70 years is too far. I really have wished he gave the scientific basis proposal or the current practice, which is the 60 years, with the extension of the professorial rank to 70 years is the best. And we think it's the best because it is not everyone who becomes a professor and still want to work up to 70 years. That's number one. Because of health reasons, the average life expectancy of the Ghanaian lecturer or the Ghanaian is like 63.5 years. Lecturers rather must retire on their salary or their basic pay, just like all other institutions of senior rank. For example, judges retire at 70, they retire on their salary. The police forces, the armed forces, the security forces, all the senior ranks retire at the age that they leave on their retirement. I mean, get retirement benefit in terms of their retirement age. So this, we think, will serve the interest of the UTAG lecturer rather than imposing 70 years.
And you heard Professor Kwabena Bavari. He is the president of the KNUST chapter of UTAG. Let's speak to the executive director of the Institute of Education Studies, Dr. Peter Ante. Good afternoon to you, Doc. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you as well. Doc, from a policy standpoint, I'm wondering what you make of the proposal to extend the retirement age of university lecturers, with the argument being that a number of them, even after 60, are still mentally fit and they could be retained.
Yeah, I think that it's an interesting proposition. You have to understand that within the education sector, the more one spends in research, and we are talking about lecturers, so we are looking at people who are basically into research. The more one conducts research in a specific area, the more experienced and knowledgeable they become in that area. So take me, a young lecturer, for example. If I stay in the profession for 20 years and I'm teaching economics, you would appreciate the enormous experience I'll bring to bear in training people in that field, because I have spent 20 years teaching and researching in that particular area. And that is why I think that it is important that we continue to keep these people with that kind of experience within the system, so far as they are healthy and they are willing to do so. So instead of making it mandatory, I think there should be a way that those who do not want to be in the system, I know people who after 60 years, they think they are tired and they want to do other things, should be allowed to pursue those things. But then those who are willing and able to stay within the system should be encouraged and given the opportunity to do so, not the current practice where people would have to apply and then you have to reach a certain level in terms of your grade before you are considered. And even in that aspect, you are also supposed to be in an area that is really needed in terms of training of other people before you are considered. But I think that it should be an open system for everyone who is willing and able to teach after 60 with that enormous experience. That person should be given the opportunity to continue to, as they are saying, to 70 or to when they feel that the strength is no more there, or they would want to do other things.
And
so that is how I would want to look at it, not by pegging the retirement age at 70, but there should be that flexibility given in terms of who would want to continue and what the person would want to bring on board, and not reserved for specific people applying for a contract after they are 60 years, and then all the hula balloons that comes with it.
And indeed, that's the fear of many, because if you look at what's going on, for instance, in France, and it dominated conversations for years about the retirement age, where those who choose to retire like 65 would get to enjoy extra benefits. How do we balance that, where you're not forced to stay just because you need to enjoy certain benefits, but wherever you reach, you can still enjoy some, good benefits that you believe you're worth it?
Yes. So that is the point. Your contribution to the total human capital development of the country is very important, and that is why the system should be able to keep you if you want to be in the system. However, if you do not want to be in the system, that flexibility should be there. Currently, the practice is that after 60, you need to apply to be kept in the system. And most of those who apply is an indication that they want to be in the system. And you need to reach a certain rank before you are given that opportunity to even apply and remain in the system. That is where I think the problem is, because there will be people who might not have reached a certain rank, but they have gathered enormous experience, and their contribution to the human capital development of the country is still needed, and they are willing and able to still stay on. The current system might not give you that opportunity. So you will need to now look at it from a perspective of allowing anybody who is willing and able, irrespective of rank, to be able to apply and stay on if they desire to do so. And those who do not, they are given the opportunity to go. Of course, if I desire to stay on, then it means that the monetary value that comes with me retiring early is not a motivating factor to me. My motivating factor then becomes my ability to continuously train people to be able to impact knowledge and to ensure that I'm building the next generation of scholars. That would be my motivating factor. There are those who would also want to do other things after 60. They should be allowed to do that. But to force everybody to be in the system and then terminate them at 70 is where I think the problem is.
The other argument is, do older lecturers staying longer really improve quality and mentorship?
Yes. And from my experience, I've been handled by top professors in our educational system that at this current moment, most of the things that I am able to do is because I have walked through the hands of people within the education sector who knows their onions from A to B. Talk about the Professor Anna Mohammed, Professor Ananga. A lot of them, all these people have impacted on us. So the more they stay in the system, the more relevant and valuable they become. That is how the system is. You will need to, as I told you, if I stay in academia for the next 20 years, it means that I'm researching into a specific area of economics for 20 years. I'm training people in economics education for 20 years. I'm writing research papers in economics for 20 years. You cannot compare me to somebody who is now coming. I've done 20 years in that particular field, build knowledge, and produce people within that particular area for 20 years. So the more I grow, the more experienced and knowledgeable I become, and the more I'm able to impact on the younger generation coming in there. And that is why we need to keep them, especially where we want to push the science technology thing, the STEM thing. The science research work takes a long time to do. So if you are now asking people to leave the system while they are now building up at their later part of their years, then it means that you are going to be cutting down on the experiences, and that is not going to help with the development of the human capital that you have in the country.
Where then do you place the balance of also giving young people opportunity?
You can always give young people opportunity. So what you normally see in the system is that the more experienced the person is, the less teaching ability and teaching opportunities that is given to the person. The person now graduates from just teaching in the classroom to supervision and training PhD students. And that is what I think should be encouraged, so that the teaching of the undergraduates, the teaching of some of the courses are left in the hands of the young ones that are coming. And then the experienced ones are confined to more of training and training people in the PhDs, in their masters, and then making sure that they impact the experience that they have to the younger lecturers that are being recruited into the system. So that cycle should continue. And if we do it that way, we will still have younger people coming in, tapping into the knowledge of the older ones, and as they exit the system, that institutional memory, that experience, all the knowledge that they have gathered. One of my best professors, Professor Ajimai, who is late in the University of Cape Coast, sociology, I sat under his feet, and the kind of knowledge that he was able to impact on some of us in terms of quantitative research, so valuable that now that he's not in the system, some of us are still are now pushing up these quantitative ideas and other things. That is how it's supposed to be. So you cannot push them away and expect that the young ones will be able to learn from just anybody. No, you keep them in the system, they mentor, and then as and when they feel weak, they exit for the young ones to take over.
Doc, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
And he had the Executive Director of the Institute of Energy Studies, Education Studies, Dr. Peter Anti. Thank you so much for sharing those views with us. Now, Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority, Edwige Tamaklo, has hailed the resumption of operations by the Tema Oil Refinery. Recently resumed crude oil refining after years of intermittent shutdowns due to financial distress, debt accumulation, and operational challenges. Edwige Tamaklo believes the restart of operations is expected to reduce Ghana's reliance on imported refined petroleum products, enhance energy security, and save foreign exchange, while improving supply stability in the downstream petroleum sector.
I strongly believe that if Tema Oil Refinery is able to ramp up production to almost 45,000, barrels per stream per day, Tor and Central alone should be doing about 40% of the market. Wow. And that will be significant. That will greatly, project the country well. And one of the benefits, I strongly believe, is that once they get into that, it will also impact on pricing dynamics greatly, because then you'll be doing less exports. Now, the bigger advantage also is that if you are doing it here, the kind of forex you need to bring imported products, that pressure on the Ghana cedi will greatly also reduce. So the economics of it is greatly impactful. As you know, immediately we set up the gas infrastructure in the Tuabo, because we're getting LPG. And at a point, it rose to almost 45% of market demand. It also reduced the downward pressure on the Ghana cedi. So at every material time, once we're able to do a few of these things locally, it projects the economy better. And I strongly believe that one of the things that we should all do is to encourage government to invest more in the operations of Tema Oil Refinery. There are two things that we need to be looking at. One, the issues about safety. Two, the issues about sustainability. Now, to have these operations in a more sustainable manner would also require that government begins to invest in the industry.
And you had the Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority, Lawyer Edwige Tamaklo. Now, the Transport Minister and Minister of Parliament for Saboba constituency in the Northern Region, Joseph Bukari Nikwe, has urged metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies, as well as members of Parliament within the northern belts of the Eastern Corridor, to invest in agriculture to ensure food security. He says investing in agriculture would translate government agricultural policies into sustainable benefits for peasant farmers, which will reduce poverty and improve livelihoods. The minister made these remarks when he met with all municipal and district chief executives and other stakeholders in Yendi. Christopher Marco is my colleague who followed this conversation. He joins us live on the line. Chris, one more, can you tell us as regards what transpired at that meeting?
Yes, so this week the minister was actually talking about the fact that over the years, the Eastern Corridor, district Africa, the Eastern Corridor have not seen the needed development. So it's about time that it comes together to work towards alleviating poverty in the area. You know that there are a lot of districts within the northern belt of the Eastern Corridor. We talk about Pandai, Wolensi, Bimbila, Yankee, Zabzubu, Sapali, Bishagu, Karaga, and Saboba. And so these are a lot of districts. And so for the minister, working together to promote agriculture and also government policies is the right way to go in a way of alleviating poverty within these areas. Let's take a listen to what the minister has been saying.
I'm sorry, Chris, we don't have that, but if you can paint a picture for us about the general developmental outlook of districts in the Eastern Corridor catchment area.
Yes, so you know that from Pandai to Saboba to Karaga, when we talk about development over the years, these areas have not seen the needed development. These people are farmers. Their road network is still a challenge because they are unable to cut their farm produce from the farm to the market centers. You talk about education, health. These areas are still lagging behind, and so for the minister, this is a time for them to project the Eastern Corridor area so that it will catch government's attention for the needed development. He's also been calling for unity among the people within this area, especially the NDC fraternity, to say that they will be united and to be able to support the president and government to deliver on its promises.
I'm wondering whether there were any immediate reactions from those who are into agriculture, knowing the peculiar challenges they face in the northern part of the country.
Yeah, so what they are saying is that they are talking about irrigation, improving irrigation farming in the northern parts of the country. You know, the rainy season is just 3 months out of the 12 months. And so the remaining months, the people call it off-season. This time they don't have anything to do. And so they are pleading with government to ensure that once they have river bodies, the white water, black water, they also have the OT and Dakar rivers passing through this area. So if government is able to accelerate irrigation, it will go a long way to help them so that they will also boost agriculture in this area.
Thank you very much, Christopher Marco. He's our Northern Region correspondent. Now, 2025 has witnessed a number of fire outbreaks, particularly in the capital city, Accra, claiming lives and destroying property. As part of efforts to prevent fires and reduce the occurrence during the upcoming Hamilton season, the Greater Accra Regional Fire Office Command has embarked on a route march across major market centers in the region, and we'll bring you some more in our subsequent bulletins. Joining us on the Midday News here on 3FM 92.7. Log on to shrinews.com for more news. Have a good afternoon.